Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rose Writes and I write and narrate Miraculous Ladybug fan fiction. Thank you so much to ChocoLuck Chipz for allowing me to use their amazing artwork in my thumbnail. If you haven't yet, their info will be linked below, so go show them some love. If you are enjoying Adrienette April, why not hit that little subscribe button so you never miss when I upload? I have a lot more fun fanfictions planned and I would love to see you there. Now then, please enjoy Adrienette April, Day 9, Buttercup. Miss Mendeleev spouted instructions as students worked in small groups, some working more diligently than others. Did you guys know that glass isn't a solid? It's not really a liquid either. It's an amorphous solid, because it's somewhere in between. You know, it's interesting. Hey, Alia? Nino interrupted, perplexed. What? She said, clearly annoyed. Science happened to be Alia's best subject, besides her photography class. She always said life was too interesting. And now in their junior year, Alia controlled the Lady blog, an Astronomy with Alia blog, an Ancient Herstory blog, and a Botany, Biology, and Biochemistry Oh My Science blog. You do know this is biology and not chemistry, right? So what? You learned something, she said with a hair toss, going back to writing some notes. So your glasses are in a more something solid? Adrien said, humoring her. Amorphous solid, and no, she corrected him, tapping the surface of her glasses. These are all plastic, baby. I have 20/20 vision. I think they make me look like Marcy Martin, the youngest person to ever produce a movie, and a black icon. What a treasure. Alia stood from her seat, pumping a fist into the air, only to be shushed by Miss Mendeleev. Alia sat begrudgingly. She turned her attention to her best friend sitting beside her, eyes glued to her paper, writing furiously. Marinette, you've been quiet. Are you even listening to me? Marinette continued writing studiously, waving at Alia with her non-dominant hand. Yeah, amorphous solids, national treasure. Alia rolled her eyes dangerously far back in her head. Well, that's not exactly what I said. It's true, though. She paused, looking from Marinette to the boys across the table, then back to Marinette. She never worked this hard in science. Alia narrowed her eyes. What you working on? I doubt it's science-related. Alia tugged lightly at the corner of Marinette's paper, only for her to snatch it out of Alia's grip, holding it tightly to her chest. No, these are my notes, and I'm very particular with my notes. No one can see them. She put the paper back down, her forearm placed suspiciously across it. Alia stared at Marinette, knowing she was hiding something. Their staring contest became intense, neither girl breaking focus. The boys looked at each other confused, eventually going back to their own notes. Marinette began to feel the strain, her eyes drifting to Adrien, then back to Alia. The blogger gasped loudly, slamming her hands on the table. Oh no, you didn't! She screeched. Alia, if you don't sit down and focus on your work, you're going straight to Mr. Damocles. Sorry, ma'am. She waited until Miss Mendeleev stalked back into her desk, looking down at her horn-rimmed glasses at her students. Oh, no, you didn't, she whispered. Alia, not now, Marinette said through gritted teeth. What? The boys said in tandem. Come on, Marinette, they're cool. Tell them. Alia urged, nodding her head vigorously. She gave Marinette a knowing smile. Alia knew Marinette too well. She knew her BFF struggled to focus on school because of one oblivious and very blonde distraction. Adrien aggressed. Marinette moved her arm off her notes, the paper being crowded by her friends. Marinette's face turned vermilion as they read in silence for a moment, a few chuckles thrown in here and there. Buttercup? Adrien laughed. Who's Buttercup? He's It's not important. She took back the crinkled paper, staring at it. Nino snatched the paper back. Of course it's important, Marinette. If it wasn't, would it make you feel like... He adjusted his glasses, reading the small print aloud. Like there's 3 suns in your heart? An embarrassed Marinette tucked her head in the crook of her arm, placing it on her desk. Don't be embarrassed, Marinette, Adrien said cheerfully. Why don't you read it to me? Pretend I'm Buttercup and tell me you're in love with me. That will be good practice. Alia snickered, whispering into Marinette's ear, You don't have to pretend. Only to be met with Marinette's bony elbow in her ribs. Okay. Marinette cleared her throat, face deep in the paper, as if she didn't already have it memorized. Dear Buttercup, ever since I met you, Marinette was interrupted by her friend group's stifled laughter. Sorry, Marinette, but Buttercup, it's just funny. She grumbled, balling the paper up. Alia grabbed it, uncrumpling it. We are sorry, Marinette. How about you try? She stared, a sly gleam in her eyes, replacing Buttercup with a real name. Like? Marinette said, frustrated. She didn't even want to do this in the first place. Like Adrien. You're talking to him, right? So it only makes sense to use his name. Alia smirked, pleased with herself. Oh, this woman was diabolical. Marinette furrowed her brows, glancing back to Adrien, who was all smiles. That's a great idea, Alia. Maybe it will make it feel more authentic. Fine, Marinette mumbled, taking a large breath, speaking slowly and methodically. Adrien, when I first met you, I had 3 suns in my heart. They shined so brightly that whenever I see you, the slightest thought is reduced to droplets. Those suns are just 3 little words, but they're burning my lips. Please soothe me, Adrien, and tell me you love me as much as I love you. Adrien stared at her, lost in thought. Had he figured it out? He's Buttercup. Alia all but gave it away. Marinette sat, sweating bullets, pretending to work as their professor made another loop around the classroom. Marinette? Adrien sighed. It's, fine. It's just... I don't believe you. I mean, you don't talk like this, right? She gave her letter another once-over. I guess not. It's not really me. Exactly! It's a little formal. Speak from the heart, Marinette. I know he probably feels the same way. Marinette nodded, her body shaking with nervous energy. Everything she felt for Adrien. She had to tell him. Her heart beat like a drum as she mustered the courage. She spoke, her voice low. Adrien, the first time I saw you, I misjudged you. I thought you were conceited and superficial. But then I got to know you, who you really were deep down. Someone sweet, sincere, and generous. Since then, there's been something I've been wanting to tell you, but every time I try, it's like my brain suddenly freezes. Now I think I'm ready. I love you. As she declared her love for the boy Adrien knew as Buttercup, his eyes widened in awe. That was a beautiful declaration of love. Yeah, Alia said after a brief moment of silence. You should tell him who Buttercup is, Marinette. The love-stricken teen passed her eyes between her 3 friends. Her eyes landed on Adrien, who smiled at her. His emerald green eyes sparkled beneath his blonde fringe, kindness emanating from his face. I promise I won't tell anyone. He held up his hand like a Boy Scout taking a solemn oath. Adrien, it's... The loud bell rang overhead, saving her from a prison of her own creation. Marinette breathed a sigh of relief as she tucked her unfinished biology project in her bag. She waved goodbye to her friend group at the threshold, receiving a disapproving look from Alia. Marinette gave her prying best friend a cheeky smile and a shrug. She'll get there. It gets easier every time she talks to him, and soon, she'll be truly ready to confess. She did it once, and she'd do it again. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment for Mr. Algorithm. If you're not sure what to comment, say biology. And as always, stay miraculous!